Alright, so today we are going to be putting together the outer layer of our bucket hat. So because we're using the two hat method, we're going to be doing this a little bit differently to the pattern. So the first thing that we want to do is take our two brim pieces and place them together right sides facing. We want to sew the short edges together, so both of those short edges together, and then you're going to fold it out and press that seam there. Obviously they will be attached, and you're going to top stitch down either side of the seam. Okay, so now our two brim pieces are sewn together, and you can see that I've top stitched down the short edge here to hold the seam flat, and you can see what that looks like on the reverse side there. So the next thing that we want to do is mark our quarter points. So this is for later when we're attaching the brim to the crown. So we're just going to match those two seams there, and that will be quarter point 1 and 2, and then you just need to push the fabrics together flat there and find that halfway point between the two seams, and that will be your quarter point 3, and then you need to do just exactly the same with the other side, and that will be quarter point 4. So you can mark those with a pin or by ironing them, or just by finger pressing them to get the little mark there that you can see just there. And so we're going to use those as landmarks when we attach the brim to the crown. So moving on, now the next thing that we want to do is sew the crown together. So you're going to take your two crown pieces, you're going to place them right sides together, and you're going to sew down both of the short seams to form a circle. And then once you've done that, you're going to fold it out, press those seams back, and top stitch exactly like we did for the brim. Okay, so now the two crown pieces are stitched together, and we have top stitched the seam down so that it sits flat. This is what it looks like on the right side. We want to mark our quarter points for attaching the crown to the lid of the hat. So to do that, you're going to match those two side seams up, and they're going to form your quarter point 1 and 2. You're going to press the fabric flat until you get to this crease here, and as you can see, I've already marked mine. That will be quarter point 3, and then the same on the other side, quarter point 4. So you can mark it on the wrong side of your fabric, or you're interfacing with a pen or a fabric marker, or even a lead pencil, or you can just use a pin or a clip. So we're going to use these as landmarks when attaching the crown walls to the lid. The next thing that you're going to want to do is snip into the top of the crown. So the top of the crown is the slightly shorter edge, or the edge with the inward curve. And you want to snip in about 0.7 centimeters or half a centimeter, because the seam allowance is 0.7, so about half a centimeter. And you want to snip every 1.5 to 2 centimeters all the way around, and that's so that we can give your crown bands a little bit of stretch when attaching them to the lid. So as you can see, I have snipped into my crown bands there every 1.5 to 2 centimeters, and I've also marked my quarter points on my lid piece. So if you didn't already do this when you traced your pattern, it's really easy to do. If you just take your crown piece and fold it in half, that will give you those two markings, and then if you fold it the other way and match those 2 points up, that will give you your other two spots, and just mark those with a Nico or a pin or something like that. So then you want to take your lid piece and you want to place it wrong side down, and then you want to take your crown band that you just sewed, and you want to find your quarter points and you want to match them up. Now as you can see, the lid is not quite perfectly circle. So there's a reason for that, and that is that it's slightly oval to fit better with the natural shape of a head. So we want that slightly oval shape to be going from front to back. So turn it that way, so front and back, or back and front, but the longer sort of side of your oval is going to be the front and the back. So you want to take your quarter points. Now the join here is going to be the side, so we can start with that, and we'll just go, this is our side quarter mark here. So we just want to place that there and match them up exactly, and then clip that in place. Alright, so as you can see, I have clipped my 4 quarter points into place. So now what we want to do is we want to start clipping all the way around the edge. So you want to line up your fabric, so pulling the crown band to the edge of the lid and clipping or pinning that in place. Now when we put it on the sewing machine, we want to sew it in this direction. So we want the lid to be sitting down and we want the crown to be sitting like this, and that's so that we can see that the edge of the crown is matching up with the edge of the lid, but also because we want the lid to be flat, so we want to keep that flat while we're sewing, and then that will help encourage it to stay flat afterwards. Okay, so I've clipped it all in place, and as you can see, I've kind of scrunched the crown walls up in a bunch in the middle, and that just gives you the best visibility, and I usually try and hold it that way as I'm sewing. And you can see just here, the reason that we've cut the slits into the crown wall is to give it that ability to stretch as we go around, and you can see that it's kind of let that fabric just stretch out a little bit so that the wall of the crown can match the top of the lid. So that what we're going to do now is just sew entirely around the circle, and I just find as well, if I hold that in there, I just have a nice flat circle to sew around, and that just makes it just that little bit easier. So now we're going to sew the crown walls to the lid. So here is my crown all sewn together, and as you can see, as I mentioned, I've got that lovely nice oval shape on the top there because I held that flat that way. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to turn this right way out, and we want to top stitch this seam down to the wall of the hat. So we want to fold it the right way out, and keeping this seam folded down towards the wall, we want to top stitch just approximately 1/2 centimetre from that join. Okay, so now we have our crown lid and walls attached. We've top stitched the seam down. We want to flip that this way, and we want to mark the quarter points again. So again, our side seams are going to form quarter points 1 and 2, and just join those together and work along until you find 3 and 4. Then what you want to do is take the brim of the hat, and we previously marked the quarter seams on that. So you want to line those quarter seams up and pin them in place. So we've got the fabric is right sides together, and we are lining up the inside of the brim. So if we put the brim flat on the table, that inner circle is the part that we are lining up with the edge of the crown. So we're just going to clip those quarter points in place, and then we're going to clip or pin all the other points in between, and then we're going to sew those together. So now you have something that almost looks like a hat. So the next thing that we want to do is fold this brim out the right way and push that seam towards the wall of the hat, and then we just want to top stitch that down the same as we did for the seam between the lid and the wall. So just flip that all the way around and then just top stitch around there. Okay, so now that we have top stitched that seam between the brim and the wall, we are all done with the outer layer of our hat. So tomorrow night we will construct the inner layer in exactly the same way. I will see you then.